Hi, my name is Kerry Critchlow from RCR Recording Studios. Today we're going to be talking about how to count out beats. And this is getting more into the weeds of the duration concept. So we talked about pitch and duration last episode. Today we're going to be talking about how to count out that duration. For instance, if I'm going to be going back to my example from last week and play the C chord, well, how long is that C chord supposed to last for? Should it last for that long? Should it last for that long? How long should it last? And that's what duration is how long to make these notes or chords last for, all right? And in order to do that, we're going to use my buddy, the metronome, to help us out. A metronome is just a way to count beats. And I guess before we get into the metronome, maybe we should talk about what beats are and what they mean. Now, I'm going to try to avoid music theory to a degree, but I do want to just touch on some basic concepts to get into. When it comes to counting music, generally speaking, you're going to be counting in either twos or threes, and I'll get into why in a moment. But you count out those twos and threes, and each of those counts is inevitably going to end up becoming what's called a measure or a bar, and that's just a small segment of music. That's kind of, if you think of like a full song in its entirety, that song is chopped up into individual measures and bars, and each of those measures and bars is going to contain a small amount of the entirety of the song. Okay, so a 3-minute long song might have 90 measures or bars. They're interchangeable words. Measures and bars mean the same thing. Just for an example, so like a 3-minute song might have 90 bars in it. Maybe it could have 120 bars in it, or it could have 50 bars in it, or whatever. That's not the important part. The important part is that you know how to count out the duration of time that's within those bars, and we use that, and we will set how fast or slow the song is using something called tempo or BPM, and that's just how fast or slow the song is. If it's very fast, might have a faster tempo. If it's very slow, might have a slower tempo. And so, like I said, BPM or beats per minute is counting out the beats in each bar. And it does that, by counting out how many of those happen within 1 minute. And so if there's a lot of beats happening in a song within that 1 minute time frame, it's a faster tempo. If there's less beats happening in that minute, it's a slower tempo. And so, for instance, we'll bring out my buddy here, the metronome, and you'll hear a little series of beeps going on, and that is counting out how many beats are happening within 1 minute, okay? In this case, it's counting out 94. I don't know if you can see that, and now I'm thinking about it, this is probably reversed, so it all looks backwards and mirrored. So it looks like I'm left-handed, but I'm actually right-handed. Right now, those beeps are counting out 94 beats, and so that means that 94 of these little beeps are going to happen within 60 seconds or 1 minute. We can increase the amount of beats happening in that minute, and so now it's going a little faster. Right now it's at 120 beats per minute, and you can slow it down, you can speed it up, but that's just measuring how fast or how slow the feel of your song is, okay? And each of these beeps is something that we're going to count when we're counting our music. And there's, getting back to earlier, you're going to count those in either a series of twos or threes. And well, that has to do with time signatures, and we'll get into time signatures eventually, but I don't want to, I want to keep this as basic as possible for now, all right? I'm just trying to explain this from the perspective of someone that knows nothing about music or how it's made. So when we count in series of twos or threes, that is going to be how we fill out those measures or bars. Generally speaking, the most common times in music are 3/4 and 4/4. All right, 4/4 being the absolute most dominant, at least in Western music, the absolute most dominant type of counting you'll get is 4/4, and 3/4 is second place, and then you have your odd time signatures, your 6/8, your 7/4, 7/8, like all of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into what that means just yet because I want to focus today on just how to count out the beats. And once you've learned how to count out those beats, it'll make some of the concepts of time signatures make more sense when we get into that in future videos, but now is not the time for that. Now, when you're counting in twos and threes, it's to simplify things because something is either going to be a multiple of 2 or a combination, an addition of 2 and 3. So for instance, if we were counting out a 4/4 time, that would be 1 2 1 2, except instead you're replacing 1 2 1 2 with 1 2 3 4. So it's a 2 times 2 is 4, and in 4/4 time there would be 4 beats in that measure, and each quarter note would have it would be 1 beat essentially. Sorry, again, we're going to avoid time signatures and the nitty-gritty for right now. I guess it's not super important that you know all this right now. We're just going to count, okay? And so you're going to count in either twos or threes, okay? Now, if we put our metronome back on, and we'll slow it down. Nice chill tempo at 80 BPM. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's as simple as that. Each beat gets a number, and we're just going to call 1 2 1 2 1 2. All right. It's as easy as that. That's how you would count. In order to count threes, we're going to keep the BPM still at 80, the tempo at 80, but instead of just counting to 2, now we're going to count to 3. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. And you hear the difference between a 2 count and a 3 count. The 3 count has kind of a waltzy, swingy sort of feel, where the 2 count seems a little bit more straightforward and a little bit more simplistic, for lack of a better word. You also may have heard me emphasizing the 1 as I was counting, and that's because the downbeat, or the first beat that happens in the measure, tends to be emphasized oftentimes in music. Not always. There's no rules when it comes to music. These are just tendencies, especially in Western music, which is all I really know about, and it's all I'm going to talk about. But you heard me when I was counting 1 2 3. The 1 I was emphasizing, I was giving more weight to, more strength, if you will, okay? And that's called the downbeat. It's the very first beat that is happening in those measures, and those beats are those little beeps, right? So each beep that we were hearing on there was a beat. I know beep and beat sound very close together. Beep is B-E-E-P, and beat is B-E-A-T. Beat and beep, okay? Or blip, whatever. Anyways, each of the blips that are happening on this metronome represent 1 beat in the measure. And we're counting those measures right now in 2s and 3s. And we'll get into why in a little bit. When I'm counting 1 2, it's 1 2 1 2 1 2, and I'm emphasizing that downbeat again, right? The very first beat that's happening is getting a little bit more emphasis, okay? And again, that's just a common thing that happens in music. It's not a rule. You can emphasize the second or third or whatever beat you want, but generally speaking, the 1 tends to be the strong downbeat, okay? And so if we were going to count out this C chord, going back to here again, or even just a C note, we'll just stay with the note for now to keep it super simple. if we were to count this out, it'd be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If we're counting in twos. And if we were counting in threes, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so that's how you gauge the duration of a note. In this case, the duration that I was holding out the C note was happening for either 2 beats or happening for 3 beats. Now you can make those even quicker if you want, and instead of holding out the note for both of those counts, you can have the note play on each of the counts. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? So there's a lot of ways you can do this. You can get creative with it, but the basics of duration is being able to count in that 2 or 3 pattern. And when you want to get into more complex time signatures, you can start adding those together. So for instance, if I wanted to get 4 counts, instead of counting 1, 2, 1, 2, I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I wanted to get, say, 5 counts in a beat, which is getting into odd time signatures, but just as an example, this is a little bit more complicated, or at least in my mind it is. I don't do well with complicated time signatures, and that's why I like to break it down into a series of 2s and 3s, because you can count out 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and when you add that together, you get 5. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And if we turn our metronome back on to make sure we're a little bit closer on that count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And that's giving us 5 beats per measure, or 5 beats in a measure, which is a 5/4, and each of those notes is getting a quarter beat. Again, we'll get more into the weeds of time signature, but that was a 5/4 count, and I did that by adding together 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3 together to equal 5. Or you can add 3s together and get 6. So if we put our metronome back on, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or in simpler terms, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's how you count. And if you listen to songs you might hear on your Spotify playlists or the radio or wherever it is you listen to music, you'll start to hear in that music that they're using these counts. Now, the vast majority of the time, the songs are going to be counted in 2s. More often, they will be counted in, say, 3s, 5s, 7s, etc. 4/4 is the most common time signature that exists, as I said before. And when you count 1, 2, 3, 4, if you listen to the music and you can start to pick up on those beats that are happening. And every time you count to 4, that's the end of a measure, and you start a new measure on 1 again. Okay? And so that's how duration works, and that's how counting works. You're just counting by 2s or 3s, as simple as it can possibly get. And every time you hit 1, essentially you're starting on a new bar. Okay? And those bars or measures will stack up together over time to become your song. And so let's go a little bit, we'll play a little bit with the pitch as we do this, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And this time we're going to count it in 4 because it's the most common, but you get 4 by just adding 1 and 2 together, or 2 and 2 together to get 4, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2 becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? And so if I were to play a relatively common type of chord progression along with this, we're going to keep it super simple and just play whole note durations. And we'll get into what whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes and all that kind of stuff is in a future video. Right now we're just focused on the counting. So we'll start my metronome. I can't talk. Metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of those notes was 1 bar worth. Each of the chords I was playing, I played for an entire bar, and so I played 4 bars, 4 measures worth of music right there. Okay, at 80 beats per minute. Now let's try that same kind of thing, but we're going to do it in 3/4 time. It'll be the same chord progression, but now we're playing it in 3/4. So if we count it out, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's how you do it. That's how you count, and that's how you put the music together. I'm just putting together a series of chords. In case you're curious, those chords were A minor, C major, G major, and D major. And you count out the duration of those, and you get 4 bars again. Whether you're counting in 3/4 or 4/4, they both ended up to be 4 bars long, or 4 measures long, however you want to say it. Anyways, I hope that this has been helpful. In future videos, we'll get into more of the weeds on time signatures, as well as what quarter notes, eighth notes, whole notes, half notes, rests, all of that kind of stuff. We'll also be getting more into key signatures and other things, all in future videos. But like for now, I'm trying to start at the very basics. So last week we covered pitch and duration. Today we dug in a little bit more into duration and how you count those durations, and that was in 2s or 3s. Next week, I think we're going to get into more what quarter notes, half notes, and things like that are. And those are just notations or ways to know how long a note should be held out while you're doing the counting. So anyways, I hope this has been helpful. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye.